Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, night, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the webinar on how to answer the SIP 2.0 questionnaire, a new approach to reporting in Prime. I'm Gustavo Loyola, I'm Manager for Leadership Education. I will lead you today with this conversation together with my colleague, Tung Tung Shen, who's Manager for Prime Commons. I will advise you if you have any questions or any comments or reflections, you can use Q&A. We'll have a proper time to discuss and to address the questions that you may have. We're also recording this webinar, so we can use that and you can share this video and this link with your colleagues at your university. We're also hosting different webinars and different time zone in the following months. So stay tuned for the updates on Prime website so we can continue follow the conversations on it. I would like to start first sharing a little bit of story of the SIP, the sharing information on progress. So SIP was created back in 2007 as part of what is Prime, and as part of Prime commitment from institutions. Mainly the intention of having share information on progress is to understand how our signatories, how our institutions are performing, how they are integrating, implementing Prime principles, how they are connecting with those different stakeholders and disseminate Prime's message and responsible management education in different contexts. And just some quick facts and fun facts about it. The first two SIP reports were submitted back in 2008 by Bentley University in the US and also Dentsu Business School in France. So this is still available on Prime website for those who want to take a look to see the first reportings, the first efforts from Prime signatories and disseminate their principles and Prime connections in their own institutions. Since 2008, we have 2,500 registered SIP reports. So we have a lot of institutional history on it, a lot of knowledge being generated, not a lot of good stories on implementing Prime principles, on implementing SDGs, on implementing sustainability in curricula, research, partnership, and how to connect Prime principles. Some fundamental parts of SIP reports that I would like to share to you and to recall, of course, is part of the requirement is to submit a assignment letter by the high executive of the organization, means a commitment letter saying that the university is committed to Prime principles, to integrate sustainability, responsible management education in the practice, and also, of course, sharing their practical actions, assessment of outcomes, different and specific objectives, and of course, demonstrating their efforts on it. The story on having a SIP report is also to see what other schools are doing, how they are implementing, to learn from each other, to get knowledge from different peers, to have this space of collaboration and sharing knowledge and sharing information, and of course, building your own institutional journey on implementing Prime. That said, we're now passing through this transition from SIP 1.0 to SIP 2.0, as we're calling now. The SIP 1.0 is basic what we have until today. So it's a static PDF report that you can find on the Prime website when you're submitting your institutional profile. And now, as we have the Prime Commons and we have data experts, we talk that as an unstructured data on it, because we have a multitudes of perspectives. We have, of course, authenticity. Each school can create your own design, your own narrative, your own story, populate with different information on it. And of course, it's also important. But on the other hand, it's really hard to find information really hard to learn from each other. It's really hard to understand and have a clear vision of Prime's impact in society. Passing 15 years since Prime were created, it's really hard to say what we as community achieved, which impact we generated in society. Of course, we have more than 2,000 SIP reportings telling stories or sharing examples from different schools that are a part of Prime community and demonstrating their impact. For us as an organization, it's really hard to get all this information together and really hard to tell Prime story based on it. But now with SIP 2.0, our intention is really to reflect on it and really change it and really facilitate this process for the signatories. So we have here some of the points and fundamental change that we're having for the SIP 2.0. First, and of course, having the universal submission period. And I say that this is a fundamental change because as you know, like until now, you join Prime, and after 2 years, you need to submit your first SIP report. The submission period for your institution is really based in the date that you join Prime. This will change with the SIP 2.0. We will have an universal submission period from March to June every year, wherever school have all those months to submit their SIP report, regardless of the period that they join Prime. We are following here UNGC guidelines, UNGC transition, also for the COP, Communication of Progress. And this will give us a proper way to analyze, to get insights, to reflect on data, to get some information and of course, learn from each of our signatories to better serve the community. So you understand, let's say, the state of art of Prime community in that year, and then create different solutions, then support the community to develop, and then tell stories to the society and how Prime signatories and how Prime is doing and integrating sustainability, SDGs, and different principles. Another fundamental change is we are having a structured data using a questionnaire. So the SIP 2.0 questionnaire, it's a way to get a set of questions related to Prime principles to facilitate the reporting process. So now you have clarity in what we mean when we talk about principle 1, principle 2, 3, 4, and so on. So based on the questions, you can provide data and information that is necessary to tell your story of Prime principles implementation. And of course, this is also aligned with Prime principles. Again, as I just said, we can have a direct connection between a Prime principle and a specific question. We have accountability in tracking of progress. We can have also global and regional annual analysis. And this is also an important thing for the chapter chairs. So they can learn from their community, their signatories of the region. They can collaborate with different chapters. They can share the challenge that they have, the issues that they're facing, and they can communicate from each other and to create a better solution, more and more collaboration. And lastly, on the SIP 2.0, this will be an annual exercise. So you need to submit and to answer the questions, answer the questionnaire every year, every submission period. Of course, there are some things that are not changing 1 year, and it's okay. You can just say that this doesn't change in the reporting period. This is still the same. The data is the same, or no major changes. Or you can update your stories, your narratives, different cases, and things that are happening in your own institution. But the intention of having this as an annual exercise, again, we're following the same path that UNGC is passing for COP, but also because we can have a X-ray of the year, like we can really understand the community in the past year. So again, we can create better solutions, better serve the community, better understand what we're doing, and have more clarity about our own impact. But of course, we don't want to give more work to you. That's why the PRME Commons is here to make it easier to report, make it easier to share and to disseminate your information, your data. That's why I'm passing to my colleague, Tung Sheng, who is manager of PRME Commons, to talk a little bit about PRME Commons itself and how the SIP 2.0 is integrated on that.
Yes, thanks, Gustavo. We'll have control to the slide.
No, I can pass.
Yeah, you can help me click it, or yes, perfect. Yes. So the Commons is currently a 3-year project, split into 3 different layers. The first layer being the Prime self-reporting tool, what we call the SIP 2.0. And here, what we plan to do is also to integrate past SIP repository of into this layer 1. And today we're completely talking about layer 1 and not 2 and 3, even though we do have the ambition to have a resource sharing community where you can find different educational and pedagogical materials on the left. And also you could have a peer-to-peer learning, a community to discuss with each other what are these contents are, and have people edit and curate these contents and share with each other. So you can see that on the first layer, it's about sharing with each other and also committing to the prime principle. And the second layer is about the information layer. And the final layer is the progress layer, where based on these annual data that were submitted, we're able to create aggregated regional prime statistics, and also sort of based on geography as well, and also on nation states, on the basis of what is happening in responsible and management education around the world. Yeah, next slide. So the reason why we decided to have Prime Commons is to support the community's work in creating, organizing, and sharing of responsible management education content and SIP reporting. So here, the emphasis, like what Gustavo discussed in the beginning, moving from SIP 1.0, which is a unstructured data, to a more structured data. And as we know that digitalization is happening everywhere, I think so is Prime, where a digital platform is needed so that everybody can collaborate, communicate, and recognize each other within the global RME community. Next slide. And here, Gustavo will talk about the SIP 2.0 questionnaire and what has been done so far.
Thanks, Tuntum. Thanks, Tuntum. So the SIP questionnaire, it's something that it's a process that started, let's say, over 2 years ago. In November 2020, Prime Board established the Prime Subcommittee on Sharing Information and Progress Impact that was led by Professor Wilfried Linhart. And since then, since 2020, 2021, a group of Prime members, members of the community, and of course, external members gathered together in different meetings and different consultation process to try to understand and to create the SIP questionnaire. Initially, the intention was to reflect and to lead Prime to this SIP 2.0 logic, understanding that we need to evolve, passing 15 years since Prime were created and the SIP questionnaire, the SIP share information progress logic were created together with Prime. We need to follow and to have more clarity in how to integrate Prime principles to support our schools in sharing how they are implementing and how they are supporting the SDGs achievement. Of course, the need of have more clarity on the walk the talk from the institutions on Prime principles, on sustainability integration. So it was a pushing from different areas, and of course the growing interest on sustainability reporting, all the discussions around it, each around the world. So on that, I divided here on the slide the work that we had on the SIP committee in 4 different phases. One was to develop the SIP logic, understanding the needs of the community, the expectations on it, aligning with different stakeholders, different rankings and accreditation models, and also UNGC that were passing by the same process through their communication of progress, the COP. The phase 2 was based on consultation and resourcing. We explored some community members' perception about this transition, about the SIP reporting, what they expect of the SIP report, which kind of principles, how day transition principles to some indicators and information. And here it's also important to acknowledge the work that Latin America and the Caribbean chapter did in creating a system of indicators for reporting on the SIP, to report responsible social management and sustainability in universities. So this was led by the Latin America chapter that created this repository, this indicator system that we also use it here as part of the consultation process, as part of the ignition for the SIP questionnaire. And then we start to evolve on it and to consult the community related to the questions, related to indicators, to the indicators that were proposed. So we passed it through different rounds of consultations with chapter chair, with community members, with key stakeholders such as ACSP, Financial Times, other media, UNGC, that are also part of it, to try to identify what would be some core questions, what would be an ideal questionnaire for the community. By the end of last year, so we got a set of 32 questions that we pilot with a group of early adopter schools that worked with us for about 3 months together, and reflecting on the questions, reflecting on the complexity of the questions, how to answer the questions, which questions we need more guidance, which questions we need more clarification, which question we need such kind of glossary for identification. So the early adopters schools were really supportive on it to help us to understand how the questions would be useful for the community. And of course, during this period, we also start a process of developing fundraising for the reporting, for the platform itself. That's why the conceptualization of the PRME Commons also were created during this process. Junjun, over back to you.
Yes, I've been answering a lot of questions in the chat as well. So Gustavo, feel free to have a look. And some of them, the questions that are asked, I will definitely address in the presentation as well. So regarding Commons, one of the key difference is that in some of the questions, we do ask some sort of evidence. And this evidence is what we call an object, right? And there are 4 key core concepts that I would like to introduce here. And one is learning resource, policy, narrative, and a statement. And here I provide a definition of each and an example as well. So a learning resource, what we mean here is any sort of educational material, such as a book, video, article, course, or any form of learning content. It could be a curriculum. And policy, it could be any form of policies that outline official document that outline the principle, guidelines, procedures that govern specific area of your operations within your institution. For example, you could have a societal impact policy, you could have an engagement policy, you can have a sustainability policy where you say, oh, we're not going to travel for conferences and so on. So there are different policies that governs your institution. A narrative, it's some sort of a distinct story of account that are subjective, provided by you, such as a case study, real life example, an event that happened in the past, or any narrative that you would like us to know that the question cannot capture. So this is what we call a narrative. And a statement is a former written communication or document, usually issued by the dean or director, say a letter. It could be a mission statement. It could be a strategy document declaring the strategy of a university and how it fits to the general agenda setting of the business school, for example. Next slide. Yeah. Here I have a more elaborate version of the definition of these 4 core concepts that I've just introduced just now. And so for the learning resource, one of the the important criteria is that it may be linked to multiple curriculum. So for example, when we ask you, do you teach certain SDGs? And of course, one curriculum could be linked to multiple SDG. That is allowed. And also we will create a platform, design it in such a way that you don't have to upload this learning resources 3 times for the same question. You just need to upload it one time, you can tag it, and that's it. It's related. And you can also have contributors, creators, and publisher providing a way to credit the individuals involved in its creation and how we can handle that permissions. I'm going to talk about permissions later as well, in the sense that when you upload a learning resource, you would have your own institutional account. Say you are a business school, Rotterdam School of Management, for example, in our case at Erasmus University, and I am a user from this business school, and me and Wilfred would have access to our school, and we would be able to see the resources that we both uploaded to our own university. And based on what we feel comfortable with sharing, the members can view this learning resource. In essence, if it's not specified otherwise, this learning resource is only available to members within your school, right? And this applies to all the other documents that you're sharing with us in here. So, and here the policy, it's the same, that guides decision-making, actions, behaviors of individuals and departments within the community. Narrative as well, is to specify for you, anybody, freely to explain to us what kind of narrative, what kind of events that you've organized, and how many people attended, anything that we missed in sort of the SIP questionnaire. And the statement, yes, each of these statement, it could be a letter, annual report, mission statement, strategy document, and all of these statements can serve a distinct purpose. And here we're very busy with, for each different core concept, we're using the ISO definition of metadata for all these different documents, so that we can have a very good way of keeping these documents. And when we have the statistics, we will be only using the metadata and not the content of these objects. So don't worry that we will be recycling or copying these material. It will not happen. And yes, I will talk more about data privacy and security at the last slide. Gustavo, yes.
Thanks, Tuntun. Talking about the connections between Prime Principles and SIP 2.0, you will see that we're using the 6 principles on the questionnaire that you have on Prime website until now, because we don't have until the date the official launch of this Prime refreshed 7 principles, but you don't need to worry about it because all the questions will be just reshuffled. But this is like internal work that we're having. You don't need to worry about it in your institution. Like the questions will be the same. We're just reframing for the 7 principles as soon as we have the principles launched. But here you may have more clarity. I'm not going through all the questions, but just like some topics that are related to the questions in what we are asking in each of the principles. So for example, when we talk about principle 1, propose, our intention as Prime is to understand your commitment with Prime, how strategic aligned is Prime is with your institution, your engagement and involvement with Prime. Or when we talk about values, like your policies, your practices, DAI criteria and discussions that you may have, environmental and carbon practice. It's also related to values. As you recall, this is where we have operational practice on Prime principles, on method, programs, topics, curricula, faculty development, research, what your the topics that are related to sustainable development goals, or different topics of your research that are connected to Prime principles, to responsible management or sustainability, on partnerships, how you're engaging with your own stakeholders, different networks that you're part of it, how you're connected to business sector or even UNGC, or with your alumni, your students, and principle 6, events, community, student organizations, and communications. So here I have key topics that you see on the question. And those key topics, it's how Prime see the integration of Prime principles, how Prime see that our school are committed to Prime and are embedding SDGs in their curricula, research, partnership, and different levels of engagement, responsible management, etc. Another important piece of the SIP 2.0 is that we define a set of 9 questions that are required questions. As you go to the SIP questionnaire, you see that I have about 33 questions, 34 questions. That is a set of questions in different levels related to Prime principles. But we have 9 core questions that are questions that we really want to know, and we really need to know from your schools. And this is part of the SIP reporting obligation. This is part of the requirement of being a Prime signatory. But basically here, sharing the topics of the questions, one is related to commitment to Prime, that, as I just said, is connected to principle 1, for example. The second is strategic alignment with Prime. Third is related to research. 4, programs. 5, faculty. 6, partnerships and collaborations. 7, student engagement. 8, community engagement. And 9, accreditation and rankings and other networks. So here, the intention is really to understand how committed you are with Prime, how Prime principles or even sustainability SDGs are integrated in your research, how this is integrated in your programs, how your faculty are treating that, if they are incentivized to look to it, if you have some sustainability policies related to it, partnerships and collaborations related to the topic, student engagement, community, etc. So as you may see here on this table, we have some related objects. So commitment to Prime will be a statement, as you already do, for example, for your SIP report, a commitment of your highest executive saying that they are commitment with Prime or different specific topics, how this is alignment, which kind of alignment your institution have with Prime. So this is also a statement. And you may see that here have some NA, because this is it. There's no standard, there's no related objects to it. So it's more subjective, the way that you share research. You can share DOI, you can share some recognitions that you may have, you can share the articles links. So this is open for our university the way that you want to share. And of course, here again, we don't want to push more work. So the intention is to bring in different areas, different fields that you're already submitting this information, you're already sharing those topics, and integrate this with the SIP questionnaire and the SIP questions that you have. Tutu, I don't know if you want to add something on here.
Yes, I did have a question about the chat regarding why there is no, say, research resource and just only learning resource. And I want to mention that here in the field of research intelligence where I'm working in, the field of metadata is very advanced. And in the Commons platform, we will have a web URL link when you can copy and paste the journal article or lectures link or DOI of the document, be it anything research related there. So here, it's non-applicable, especially to the Commons platform, because one of the things that we really want to champion here is the other parts of a business school, most specifically related to education. And here, partnerships, collaborations, and accreditation, ranking, and other networks, all these are what we call subjective questions. So these are questions where we ask you, who do you partner with? Is it industry? Is it companies? Your alumni, right? So you just click for example, and if you are accredited, do you go for ACSB and so on? So these are all subjective questions and thus not required an object per se. Yeah.
And it's also important to say, because we understand it, and we did the past analysis of the SIP report, and we understand that there are different levels of maturity in how schools share those informations. Like some schools have really structured way to collect research related to sustainability or the SDGs, and other schools are just picking around different departments, which kind of research they are doing. So the platform is welcome for every kind of way to report on it. So regardless the level of engagement integration that your institution have. And of course, with having a platform, you facilitate you to share those practices and different initiatives. And I just got one question here related to, for example, the evidence that were collected for SIP 1.0 to the evidence collected to the SIP 2.0. The questionnaire, it's let's say the guiding line for you to report on crime. So as you go to, for example, let me just go back here. For example, in some questions, as we ask for, we ask a specific question that you can put a narrative around. You can tell like a good story, like you can create a case story, you can share photos, you can share additional links, you can share, and you can add a different PDF files, for example, if you have different reports, if you have your accreditation report, etc. So the questions, they are some kind of guidance for reporting on crime, but the evidence, the way that you're sharing the evidence and information is really connected in the way that your school are telling the story. Your school see a good way for the story being told. So it's really similar in the way that you did in the past for the SIP 1.0. But in the past, you need to create all the framing for collecting data and information and evidence and etc. and how to report and what to report, etc. And here with the SIP 2.0, we're having some guiding questions that are supporting you through this journey. And then you can ask different people for different evidence. An important piece here also that I think the PRME Commons will facilitate, it's because you can assign different people to your institutional profile. Tuntun already mentioned that, but I think for me, well, I've been in the past representing my institution and doing SIP report, let's say, for the past 10 years. It's always really hard to get all the information from the business schools or from your faculty, etc., because different people around doing different things, and you, as PRME representative or the one that are leading the SIP report, need to go around everyone to get data and information. And through the PRME Commons, you can assign different people to provide data or give evidence on it. So you can assign, for example, a faculty member that are responsible for programs, or someone that are responsible for partnership or alumni relations, and ask them to provide data and information through the Commons. Of course, just one person will be the one to press click. That is like the main contact point, but this will be a collaborative exercise in your own institution. So you can engage different people in different area to navigate through the questions, through the Commons, etc., and also a way to engage different people through crime. So again, it's not like a lonely exercise anymore, but a collaborative exercise inside our institution. Important piece here before I pass to you, is it's important to say that this is like a transition process. So we are creating that, we are implementing it. We need the community, we need you to populate, to share information, data, and we will grow and we will evolve together with the community, consulting the community, getting reflections, understanding your challenges, the issues that you may have with the platform, with the questions, and then we can evolve on it. So it's important to say, as we go for the universal submission period next year, we still have 2024 and 2025 to transition, to get everyone on board, to get everyone connected, to get everyone familiar with the platform itself. So don't need to worry. because we're building this together with you. So we have multiple moments to connect and to interact on it. Over to you, Tung Tung.
Yes. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yes, so now this is related to the question as well in Asked by a Friend. One of the things that I've shared in the beginning is that the user data will only be shared with Prime Secretariat and not publicly, nor with other university for the first release of Prime Commons. And the second is that access and privileges within a school's account, users with access to a university within the Prime Commons account, they will have sufficient privileges to access their own organizational data. And finally, an invitation will be sent to chapter chairs to nominate a data expert within the chapter to review and discuss the contents of privacy policy. We already have a privacy policy and also terms of use within Commons. We have drafted that. And we think that it's important that people we want to leave it to the community on what kind of data and how that should be presented, right? So how do we not turn this into a ranking system? And I think it's so important to think, what is the purpose of SIP? And we are not a ranking and accreditation agency. We're here to provide context, not comparison. And I think that how do you hold schools accountable in terms of, say, actionable insights and having evidence to do these things, and that sometimes there is progress and what we want to show our best foot forward, but sometimes that's not necessarily positive. Right? It could be just ego boosting. And as someone who is a project manager of Commons, I don't think it should be, say, my responsibility or Gustavo's responsibility on what that prime global RME statistic should look like. And that's why we will have, of course, the first layer, the most important thing is to have everybody submit the SIP to the platform. That's the most important thing, because without a submission, without data, there will be nothing to show anyway. There will be no analysis. So making sure that that functionality, that nothing went wrong, nothing collapsed, that we are able to build roads where all the different cars can run on, right? That's the most important thing. And like you see at the end, only we focus on progress, which is a unique institutional profile, which can come with a type of indicators and narrative. And how do we work with all of you in the schools to do this? And one of the way was to nominate data experts within the chapters in order to review this document and to collect responses from the community to make sure that this can be done in a way that everybody can be very comfortable with. Gustavo, do you have anything to add on this?
Yeah, no, I just would like to add 2 comments. I think you already addressed the issue that we don't want to accreditate schools. That is not ranking. There's nothing like this. It's the peer learning experience. So the intention of sharing, it's for you as an institution to see how you're performing on Prime, or to see how you're integrating Prime principles, and of course create your own ambitions and how do we want to be in the future, let's say that, and also have institutional memory, because like as years passing, you can see how your school are doing, how your school are implementing Prime, how your school are evolving on it. So it's something for you in institutional level, but this is not like a single year project. So this is not the ending. As Tung Tung said, so I really like this slide because help us to understand. The first piece is where we are now. It's the questionnaire. It's just one piece of what Prime Commons will be. So the questionnaire piece is important because it's the entry point where you as an institution share how you're integrating Prime, on how you're implementing, how you're integrating principles, etc., etc. Based on that, when we go to the second level, is the space where you can learn from each other, and then we will decide, and together with the community, like which kind of information is to be shared with your colleagues, which kind of information should be kept to just for your institutional profile, so we can have this resource sharing community and learn from each other and understand what the others are doing. And then the third level will be, let's say, the dashboard. So we can have intelligence data, so we can map different regions, different contexts, etc., to see what others are doing, see the challenge, the issues that you have in different contexts, and have multiple filters by disciplines, by SDGs, by topics, by issues, etc. So this is the overall level, but this is like a, let's say, 3 years process on it, like 3 different levels for the PRME Commons. That's why, as I said in the beginning, we are building this together with you. An important piece to it also is, as Tumtum said, like the process of having, for example, reflections on data handling and privacy measures, etc. We will engage the community on this conversation. So a solution that we found out is that we'll be sending out really soon to the chapter chairs, like an invitation to nominate and to indicate someone in their region to be the digital, let's say, expert or representative, data expert or representative, to engage with us in this conversation, so we can have a global view about the questions and the data, etc., as we think forward, as we think in the different levels of the PRME Commons. This is the process where we're going. Something else from this slide?
No, not from me. I think we should, yes. So Helen asked this question whether or not you can add data to the question and then come back later. Yes, absolutely. So if you see SIP report progress on the, right here, right above the Q&A, you can see that it's split. The question will be split according to the values. You can see how much you've answered them, and then you can continue the report submission, and it will be available to everyone until the deadline. So until you click submit, it won't be submitted to the platform. So there is a lot of flexibility until you're ready of what we're developing so far.
Yeah, so as Tumtum said, this during the universal submission period, this will be open, so you can come and go, and you can, as she said, you can assign different people to go around and to add more data, and you can revise the data information, so you have a proper time to it. Question. So now we are on Q&A, so feel free to push your questions so we can answer. We have a question here, like if we submit a report based on the SIP 1.0 standard this year, we will have to report according to SIP 2.0 start in March and June 2024. So yes, the universal submission period starts next year, so in March, but we understand that some schools are just submitted right now, and then you had to resubmit. For 2025, this will not be like an obligation, but we advise you to do it so we can get familiar with the platform. You can already put some data and information there. As I said, there's nothing, there's no major difference in what you're already doing, because all the questions, the questionnaire that we created were created by analyzing past SIP reporting. So what we're asking here are questions and information that our schools are already submitting in the past SIP logic. So I think there's no major, let's say, a bunch of new questions, or that will be like a major issue on it if you're already submitting the past. So what we will advise you, as if you already submitted your SIP report this year, in 2024, go there, navigate in the platform, try to answer some questions, at least like the 9 fundamental questions on it, just to get familiar. But because we will have 2024 and 2025 for position, so we have proper time for it. Another question that arrived is, if your SIP is due during this period, like let's say until February, if you need to submit right now your SIP, or if you can wait for university submission period. You can do both. We have some schools that are submitting now and then are going to submit it in March again, or you can just wait. If you say, if you want to wait for the university submission period, it's okay. We're going to change, like to give, let's say, the grace for all schools, like for now until March, that have your SIP due this period. You don't need to submit, like you change your status, so you don't stay as non-communicating in school. So you can do both ways. You can just wait, or you can submit right away, okay? About the some schools are reporting calendar year and some schools an academic year. That's why the submission period. So the submission period, the questions are based on the past year. So if you're, let's say, if you just have data until, well, we're now in 2023, but if you have data until, let's say, November 2022, you will submit the data that you have until the period that you collected. So it will be a yearly basis. So the data and information from the past year. Ellen, on the subsequent years, yeah, you have access to your institutional story. So you can see every year how you progress, the answers, that the information that you provide from the past, etc. So it will be all available. We're still on Q&A, so I'm just sharing here this QR code and also this website, because we have a Q&A there also with some frequent questions, and you can also download the version that is available from the questionnaire. This will be updated this month in November, right away in the next week. As I said, there's no major changes from the version that is now on the SIP 2.0 website. We're just changing some words, some definitions. It's minor changes because the questionnaire were created in a logic based on the past SIP reports, and now we are migrating for digital platforms, so we had to adapt a little bit on the language, but there's no major changes on it, so you can go there, download the SIP questionnaire to see and get familiar on the questions and what we are asking about it. Let's see what else we have here. So about, yeah, so the SIP will be a yearly exercise. And an important piece also that we're having on the SIP 2.0 is we are connecting some questions. We have some questions that are based on UNGC COP. So we're now, as you know, we are a sister initiative, PRIME and UNGC a sister initiative. So we were working more and more to integrate and to connect, to integrate the impact through the SDGs. So the SIP questionnaire have similarities with COP, especially in the questions related to operational practices. So this is something that is new on the questions that probably could be something different from the SIP 1.0, the way that the schools are reporting so far. Another point here, this webinar will be available on the SIP 2.0 website and also the presentation, so you can download and to disseminate. We'll have multiple webinars through the year until we launch the platform. After we launch the platform, we will evolve on the conversations and the discussions. So we'll talk a little bit more about the logic of reporting. We'll talk about, as soon as we have the platform itself ready, we talk about how to create your credentials, your login, your different details on it, how to navigate, how to submit the question, etc. So this will be an evolving process as we go. So we will communicate all the webinars agenda through the website, but also through PRIME and all our networks and different media for it. So again, we will follow and we will build this together with the community. We're here to offer all support needed for it. I see a question in when the Commons will be ready. I see Tudun's already answered, but yeah, we will have the platform ready for the SIP 2.0's first universe submission period. Will be available for you. We will have more webinars to guide community members and how to create your institutional profile, how to navigate, how to populate with the data and different kind of informations. We have a question here. How will you sum up the rationale of SIP 2.0 in 3 words? What do you think, Tuntun?
I think the rationale here is definitely trying to reduce reporting burden. I think that the PDF format in the past, while it does give a lot of creativity and room for voice for an institution, we do miss a lot of accountability on the sense that when things are in a PDF, how do we see that progress is being made and who is actually reading these PDF? And I think that definitely being able transparency it's one of the main thing here. And I think Chris asked if there won't be any best report type nominations. We're actually still trying to do these type of nomination, but then not in a best reporting style. And I think Gustavo, I think the Secretariat had a discussion about this as well, right? The type of awards that we can give.
Yeah, on the 3 words I was thinking about, but just to finalize, I think it's accountability, impact, and collaboration. So I think these 3 words will be really important for the Prime Commons, because accountability, because I think we're hearing from different stakeholders that in our students and in a global level, of course, that we need to walk the talk, that we need to demonstrate what we're doing, how we are integrating sustainability, SDGs, and of course, prime principles, etc. Impact, because we'll have now the collaborative knowledge in what our community are doing, what we are generating as a community to the society. So we have more visibility on the impact and collaboration, because in the end, what we want to achieve at Prime Commons is a space where our signatories can collaborate, can connect with each other, can learn from each other, etc. So I think those are 3 major pieces for the Prime Commons. And about the SIP award, so for the next Global Forum, we still having the recognition of the past logic of reporting as it is, but we are discussing in how to recognize in different ways. As you see, for example, the Commons will be a space where you can share different stories, different narratives, different types of informations. So a good way could be recognize stories and narratives and etc. So we'll have different ways to recognize your commitment with Prime. So stay tuned about it.
Yes, I see David has a question where SIP 2.0 will be an amazing resource for schools in terms of AACSB accreditation for societal impact. We have had a lot of conversations with accreditators because they're very interested in what we're developing here. What I can say is that we do have API connections. We're not sure in terms of use whether we want to do that. Of course, we do want to reduce reporting burden, and we do want to create synergy, and we want to create partnership. But this is still to be discussed. In terms of generating PDF report, that is always a possibility, because I think one of the value proposition is to showcase to your dean what you're doing and your rector, and to be able to have a unique institutional profile through SIP. So that will always be possible to generate a PDF report where you can showcase to your stakeholders what you're doing and what is the value of Prime to your business school. So that is definitely there. But the relationship with accreditors, we're still exploring what kind of data partnership and what can that look like if people are still very much worried about data and privacy issues. So we're trying to tread this very carefully. Yes.
Yeah, so I think we cover all the questions. So again, everyone, we remain at your disposal here. Let me just add our emails here on the chat. Oops. Here. So you can reach out to us if you have any questions. As I said, like on the SIP 2.0 website, we have a bunch of Q&A, bunch of frequently asked questions there. So you can rely on it if you have any issues. Again, we are here to support this transition. It's not like it will not be something from day to night. We will follow your process. We will support the community. We hear the community, and we build this together. Again, as I said, this will be a collaborative exercise. We are implementing this, and we need your support, and we need your continue engaging on this. We need your inputs, feedbacks, reflections, and questions that you may have so we can better build this together, okay? Tuntun, do you have any final words?
No, I just want to thank you everybody for their attention and for attending and engaging with us. And I think a lot of the question was the Q&A, right? So the questionnaire itself, whether or not the questions are final. So and also Gustavo, do you want to talk a little bit about the new principle, or is that related to that?
The what, sorry?
The principles. So if we were to introduce new principles, the questions will basically be recategorized.
Yeah.
But the questions remain the same.
Yeah, I think I said that. So like the logic, it's still the same. It will be an internal work for us. Like we just reframe internally. You don't need to work in readapt, nothing like this. So yeah, as soon as the principles were launched, we will do this transition. But for you as a signatory, you don't need to worry about that, because this will be like an internal reframing on the questions. The questions will not change because they were created thinking about it. We're just rearranging that based on the 7 principles, okay? So yes. Thanks everyone. Thanks for your time, for being here. We will shortly share the link of this webinar so you can share with your colleagues, and together with the presentation slides. We still at your disposal if you have any questions and issues, okay? Thank you so much. Have a nice day, night, evening. See you around.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.